The man took out 2 coins and bought a bottle of iced Coke. Just as he was about to drink it, he turned his head and found his students drinking tap water.
You know, they got sodas in the store.
Water's free, White.
The man suddenly felt a pang of sadness. These children came from poor families. Every day, starting at 4 a.m., they had to help their parents with farm work. Only before the school bell rang could they take off their soaked work hats and then run dozens of miles against the wind and sand to get to school. Because of this, the man decided to help these children become the best cross-country running champions in California. A few days ago, White was a hot-tempered baseball coach. Just because a student sneezed accidentally while he was speaking, he attacked the player with his shoe. Due to this impulsive act, White was expelled from the school, and all schools in big cities turned him away. With no other choice, White had to take his wife and children away from their hometown and come to the very backward California to make a living. One day, he came to McFarland High School for an interview. The principal was somewhat shocked when looking at his resume because it was full of negative evaluations, such as numerous complaints about violent physical punishment of students and even a fight with the school board. However, although White had a long list of misdeeds, considering that the school urgently needed teachers for classes, the principal decided to give him a chance to prove himself. For the sake of making a living, White repeatedly assured that he would never make mistakes again. Eventually, the principal let him serve as the assistant football coach of the school. But as soon as the class started, a parent hurriedly came to ask for the student to go home and do farm work.
We gotta go.
Hold on, class isn't dismissed.
We gotta go, really. It's our mom.
The remaining students showed no interest in learning and even mocked White's name. This made White want to lose his temper, but he managed to control his temper in time and simply asked them to run 1 lap around the playground. However, the troublemaker Johnny arrogantly refused to run. He said he was a formal baseball player and couldn't waste time on running laps, but the professional White thought Johnny was very thin and not suitable for charging on the baseball field at all. Sure enough, the next second, Johnny, who was complacent on the playing field, was instantly knocked flying by the opponent's strongman. Although he gritted his teeth and insisted on participating in the second game, he was again ruthlessly knocked to the ground. The 2 violent collisions left Johnny seriously injured and even began to lose consciousness.
Wow. Johnny, how many fingers am I holding up?
September.
What?
Okay, special teams.
No. Sit down, no. You're done.
But the head coach insisted on letting Johnny play, which was undoubtedly taking Johnny's life as a gamble. So White stepped in and stopped the head coach. In the end, the team lost to the opponent with a score of 0-63. White also realized that the physical fitness of the children here was simply not suitable for playing football, so he planned to adjust his teaching methods. But the head coach played the villain first and went to the principal to shift the blame for the game onto White. However, the principal didn't take his one-sided words and instead drove away this lazy foodie. One day, the teacher saw that White had nothing to do, so she asked him to organize the immigrant parents' meeting of the school and help design charitable activities such as a food aid center. Because many of the children here were regarded as sacrifices by their parents from birth. They were born in the farmland and would return to the farmland in the future. They might even be sent to the prison across the street after graduation just because this was the poor McFarland. One day after school, White was driving his daughter home when he found his students running tirelessly under the scorching sun. So he immediately went to the principal and hoped to form a school cross-country running team and lead them to participate in the first national championship in California. But the principal thought that cross-country running was a pastime for the rich and that these children simply didn't have the capital to learn it. Moreover, White was not a professional cross-country running coach and had no coaching experience at all. Seeing that the principal doubted him, White decided to prove himself with actions. First, he led the students to conduct physical fitness tests and found that the student Thomas was very talented. He could actually increase his running speed to 20 kilometers per hour without wearing running shoes. White was thrilled as if he had found a treasure. He quickly looked up Thomas's long-distance running data and couldn't wait to tell the principal the good news. He said that with a little training, Thomas was very likely to rank in the top 10 inches the whole state. Unfortunately, the principal still thought it was unreliable, and the school board would not support it either. Faced with the principal's indifferent attitude, White could only cite the relevant regulations of California public schools. It turned out that a few years ago, there was a requirement from the higher authorities that public schools must have cross-country teams and cross-country coaches. With no other choice, the principal had to agree. And in order to select the most outstanding team members, White also set up rewards, stating that the top 4 students could get ice drinks. For students who could only drink tap water, This was undoubtedly a huge incentive. Soon, 4 students stood out, but White thought it wasn't enough. So he went to Johnny and hoped that Johnny could help him persuade those hesitant students to join the cross-country team, especially Thomas. Then Johnny started to persuade others everywhere. He first found Putz, who was at work, and then hitched a ride on the truck of 3 Mexican brothers. At the same time, White also took a 2-pronged approach. He first helped Jose get out of the embarrassing situation of being suspected of stealing money and then treated him to an iced Coke. At this time, White found that Thomas was fighting with someone. He immediately thought of a way to persuade Thomas.
Do me a favor, Valles. Act a little happier. The coach just negotiated you out of the suspension.
Not long after, the school cross-country team was officially established. However, team member Victor was very dissatisfied with Danny because, in his view, the chubby Danny would definitely hold the team back. But White said that Danny was very important.
So, why am I there? Because you're gonna hold this team steady. And I lose you, I'll lose your brothers. You're important, yes. Let's go.
From then on, the cross-country team's figures could be seen everywhere. The supermarket owner even sighed that the world was full of wonders. Faced with the highly motivated team members, the elderly White gradually couldn't keep up, so he could only rest by the street. However, although the coach fell behind, everyone didn't slack off. On the overpass, at the street corner, they kept repeating the same action. When they were tired, they would drink some free tap water to quench their thirst and rinse their dusty shoes. Although their speed was far inferior to that of other cross-country teams, their perseverance was very admirable. After a period of training, the team finally welcomed an invitation race. To cheer the children on, White specially spent money to prepare team uniforms and shoes for them. Looking at the brand new shoes and clothing, the children were all very happy. Soon, the race was about to start. Before running, Danny didn't forget to have a bite of delicious food. But when they stood on the starting line, what they heard was all kinds of ridicule and contempt.
Where the hell's McFarland?
Hey, they can't run without a cop behind him.
Or a Taco Bell in front of him.
Listening to these jokes and sarcastic remarks, Thomas was very angry. As the starting gun began to fire, everyone mustered their strength and headed for the distant valley. After a certain distance, the unyielding Thomas started to speed up. He originally planned to overtake the others, but unexpectedly, the athletes from other high schools actually united to stop him. This made Thomas even more furious. He exerted himself without regard for anything and broke through the encirclement. He turned his anger into the driving force for running and galloped rapidly across the field. Unfortunately, he didn't speed up for long before his physical strength was quickly exhausted. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as other runners overtook him while he sighed on the rugged hillside. Usually, they ran on flat ground, and they were very unaccustomed to this hillside. The final race result disappointed White a bit. Danny was the last one, and the overall ranking was 4th because there were only 4 teams participating in total. On the way back, everyone was very dejected, not only because of the failure in the race, but also because of the opponent's ridicule and their humble origins. Seeing them so dejected, White quickly encouraged them. Sometimes, there was no need to prove oneself to those discriminators. One just needed to hide the unyielding belief deep in one's heart. When the wind rose, people would have their own answers. Having an ordinary origin was even more of a reason to strive. If fate was the worst screenwriter in the world, then one should strive to be the best actor in one's own life. Even a fleeting firework would bring people a shocking moment. Although White was encouraging everyone, he also felt a bit lost at night because the current results simply couldn't help him return to the big city. His wife comforted him not to care too much, and at the same time reminded him to remember to get their daughter's birthday cake. To overcome the weakness of the hillside track, White started to give special training to the team members. He took them to a farm with many almond shells and asked them to regard these as the hills in their hearts. However, after just running one lap, Danny collapsed completely on the ground, settling down lap after lap, accumulating step by step. Sweat is the nectar that nourishes the soul, and hands are the wings for ideals to soar. The most wonderful part of life is not that instant of success, but the ordinary times of striving hard and moving forward. However, when everyone stopped to rest after running, Thomas insisted on continuing. He angrily shouted at White.
Alice, I said take a break.
How many more do you want? 10, 20, 100?
Take a break!
You think you're tough, White? Well, we're tough, all right? We're not runners, we're pickers. And we're always gonna be pickers.
Then Thomas turned around and left. When he just got home, he found his father punching the wall frantically. At the same time, White realized that he had missed his daughter's birthday party and had completely forgotten about the birthday cake. Looking at his daughter, he awkwardly said, "Happy birthday," only to be met with his daughter's reproach. Feeling somewhat remorseful, White drove out to clear his mind and then ran into Thomas. His eyes were red, obviously having just cried. Thomas told White that his father had come back from work and found that his underage sister was pregnant. For this poor family, it was undoubtedly adding insult to injury. The emotionally out-of-control father started smashing the wall. Thomas had hoped to persuade his father but was beaten up by him instead. Now, standing on the bridge, Thomas was also on the verge of losing control. To prevent Thomas from doing something foolish, White shouted at him, "If you jump off this bridge, the end result will be that you'll be crippled in both legs. For the rest of your life, you'll be a burden to your whole family. Even your favorite running will become a distant hope. You can't turn yourself into an overburdened state just because you encounter a little pressure in life. You can't paint your future as bleak just because you face a little setback. Think about your great future." After some earnest persuasion, Thomas finally calmed down. He began to think about his future. Then, to improve everyone's performance, White started to conduct in-depth research on other competing teams and then kept putting it into practice. So every day, his pink bicycle could be seen shuttling back and forth on campus. One day, he arranged another race for everyone. This time, they were competing against a strong team. However, the McFarland team didn't cower and admit defeat. Although they were at a disadvantage from the start of the race, they chose to keep up. Soon, their endurance and perseverance became their winning trump cards. After intense chasing, the other side finally began to run out of steam, but Thomas was still full of energy. This time, he played it steady, and finally, during the sprint stage, Thomas burst out with strength again and successfully overtook his opponent. Under Thomas's leadership, the other team members also caught up one after another. Even Danny, the slowest one, didn't let everyone down and kept following closely behind. In the end, they won the competitive match by just 1 point. Long-lost smiles finally bloomed on their surprised faces, but the good times didn't last long. The next day, Danny left the team at his family's call because he had to help with the family work. To get the team member back, White personally went to Danny's parents' house. He hoped they could support their child, but as soon as he entered the door, he was stuffed with all kinds of delicious food, which made White a bit embarrassed to open his mouth. However, in the end, he seized the opportunity to have a heart-to-heart talk with Danny's father. But before he could even start speaking, Danny's father told him that cross-country running was too extravagant for them. If they went running, there would be no one to do the family work. Although he understood that White was doing it for the good of the children, reality forced him to bow his head. To understand their real lives, White got on a truck heading to the farm. After arriving at the farm, White put aside his teacher's dignity and bent down to work with the children. Under the scorching sun, White was exhausted and covered in sweat. Only by experiencing others' hardships could one know what it meant to be helpless. This experience made White truly understand how difficult it was for Danny and the others, so White discussed with everyone to adjust the training time. They would continue to arrange training without affecting everyone's work. At the same time, he would also come to work with everyone on weekends to ensure that both were not neglected. If a race took up time, he would also work with everyone to make up for the lost time. He just hoped that everyone wouldn't give up on cross-country running. White's actions moved Danny's mother greatly. Not only did she let the children go for training, but she also called on the whole village to raise money for the McFarland team. Wearing the new shoes bought with the donated money, they ran through the golden wheat fields, crossed the blue rivers, passed through the green forests, and stepped on the brown terraced fields. White said that if they achieved good results in the Quanzhou event, then they would have the possibility of getting into college. On the eve of the crucial final competitive race, White took out a thick college admission brochure. He told the children that college was not only an ocean of knowledge, but also a springboard to change their lives. It would help them improve their family situations. However, Thomas's father didn't agree. He ignorantly believed that reading could only harm Thomas's eyes, and that his best destination was to honestly follow him and work. But Thomas didn't give up because they, as a group, were already the pride of the town's residents. They represented not only themselves, but also the hopes of all the children in the town. So they decided to give it their all. Soon, the time came for the final selection race. But at this critical moment, White encountered a dilemma. It turned out that he had received an invitation from a high school, hoping that he would go there to teach. This was a golden opportunity that White had been dreaming of, but if he chose to leave, these children would be sent back to square one. White looked at the children and then turned around to refuse. Through this experience, he had already developed a deep bond with them. All the training and efforts were only for this moment of blooming. Although the race course was full of thorns, Thomas still ran all the way. The other team members followed closely behind. Now, they were no longer afraid of these hillsides. They had the courage and confidence to move forward without hesitation. However, just when victory seemed within reach, Thomas's turning his head caused him to fall to the ground. Although he quickly reacted, he still missed out on the championship and only got the second-place result. This made him feel very guilty. He thought that he had dragged everyone down, but the other team members didn't give up. They kept catching up. At this time, the first-place team was already celebrating their victory, followed by the second and third-place teams. And at this moment, White told Thomas that they were the fourth-place team and had successfully advanced. Everyone was very happy. On the way back, White took everyone to the beautiful coastline, but Keishi was stopped at the shore. It turned out that a $9 toll was required to enter the beach. Unfortunately, White only had $5 on him. To prevent the children from being disappointed, White begged the security guard in a humble manner, hoping that he could make an exception because there were 7 children on his car who had never seen the sea before. In the end, the soft-hearted security guard waived their fees. With a command, everyone couldn't wait to rush towards the free beach. The fine sunlight washed away the worldly traces on their bodies. The gentle sea breeze blew towards their innocent smiles. The shallow sea waves washed away the fatigue from their previous training. To express their gratitude to Coach White for bringing honor to the town's residents took the initiative to hold a coming-of-age ceremony for his daughter. The party was very grand, which moved White greatly. At the same time, it also made his daughter start to accept her father. Victor's uncle even drove his daughter around the town in a car. This was their custom. Unfortunately, they encountered an accident on the way. It turned out that Victor's uncle's enemy launched an attack on them halfway to take revenge. A fierce conflict broke out between the two sides, resulting in White's daughter getting injured in the leg. When White learned that his daughter was injured, he rushed over in a hurry. White was very angry. He blamed everyone for being so reckless and was also disappointed in the safety of the town, so he decided to leave this place. On the third day, he went for an interview at Palo Alto High School. This school had excellent pay and all kinds of facilities, so after considering it carefully, White agreed to take up the post there in the next semester. Who knew that his daughter told Thomas that night that their family was going to leave? Although Thomas was very reluctant, he also understood White's decision. After all, this poor mountain village couldn't compare with a big city, but in fact, White was also very torn inside. The prosperity of the big city and the warmth of the town were each tempting in their own way. How to choose the future path became a persistent confusion in White's heart. At night, White asked his wife for her opinion. Although he yearned for the big city, he was also reluctant to part with the simplicity and sincerity of the town's residents. His wife told White that when the accident happened that day, everyone risked their lives to protect their daughter, so she thought that there was warmth and true feelings here that couldn't be found in a big city. Soon, the championship arrived as scheduled. The town's residents and the teachers and students from the school all came to see them off. Residents who had free time also spontaneously went to the venue. The scene at the championship was extremely lively. Faced with such a grand occasion, the timid Danny couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. When he heard the word hometown in the national anthem, images of every day and night spent with the children in McFarland immediately flashed through White's mind. Those bits and pieces of companionship gradually made a clear answer form in his heart. Before the start of the race, White gave a pre-battle motivational speech. He told everyone that their opponents this time were all elites. However, you have special experiences that they don't have. Perhaps for them, it's just a race, but for you, it's an opportunity to change your fate. Encouraged by White, everyone stood at the starting line of the race. As the starting gun fired, everyone began to compete fiercely. However, because he had never seen such a grand spectacle before, team member Jose sprinted with all his might from the very beginning. This made White very worried, because Jose had completely forgotten to conserve his energy. Sure enough, not long after, Jose began to feel out of breath. His pace slowed down, and his footsteps became heavier and heavier. Fortunately, Danny quickly noticed that something was wrong with him and immediately sped up and rushed forward. At this moment, he knew it was time for him to step up. The distance was measured step by step, and time began to pass second by second. Finally, the race reached the thrilling sprint stage. Thomas took the lead and appeared first. The town's residents cheered for him. but the sudden burst of speed from his opponents made him drop to the second position. With the finish line right in front of him, Thomas gritted his teeth and persisted, using the last bit of his strength to successfully cross the line. Now, what everyone was most concerned about was Jose. If he dragged the team down, then they might lose the victory. Just as they were about to fall into despair, a miracle happened. Danny, who had been underestimated on a daily basis, was gritting his teeth and holding on.
And even then, it's not gonna matter unless... Coach. That's not Danny Diaz.
Come on, Danny.
That's not Danny Diaz!
With the help of White, these 7 children not only broke free from the shackles of the farmland through cross-country running, but also ran into their ideal universities. This is a true story. After the cross-country team won the weekly championship for the first time, Coach White led McFarland High School to win a total of 9 weekly championships over 14 consecutive years. From being a third-rate teacher at the beginning to being sought after by everyone now. From being ignored at the start to being the center of attention now. From being down and out at home at the beginning to becoming well-known now, all of this couldn't have happened without the companionship of his wife. But more importantly, it was due to a heart full of faith.